Well, the Mid-South saw its first winter storm of the season, and it was deadly. Now, days are turning into weeks for many people who are stuck without power, water, or both. Now, this part of the country had a unique impact given that north of Memphis saw mostly snow, the Memphis metro saw sleet and snow, and then northern Mississippi got the worst, ice. Now, at least 28 people have died across the tri-state. Road conditions varied a bit here. Now in Shelby County, it seemed TDOT did a decent job clearing the interstate, but the city of Memphis struggled to clear city streets. The city even contracted 6 plows to bring the total number to 16. Arkansas was in a similar situation. The interstate was treated and cleared as expected, but neighborhood roads were covered. Now it was a bit of the opposite in Mississippi. Truck drivers told us that the city streets were passable, but the interstate was hazardous. You're looking at video right outside of Holly Springs. MDOT had to shut down parts of I-55 and I-22 after drivers and truckers were stuck in their cars overnight. Tawan, I want you to start this off because you have been in your house probably going on a week now by the time everybody sees this. Just what's been your experience and where do you think the best response across the tri-state and maybe the worst response was?
Well, I want to start at home. Memphis, I think, fared fairly well in this storm this year because we didn't have major outages. And that's number one. We didn't have major outages. And I want to give credit to the investment in tree trimming. Help us see a difference because we had a lot of snow and ice. And normally with a little snow and ice, we would see major outages. Now, the streets, I would give a C or maybe C minus. The major streets I'm hearing are okay, but these minor streets, you just scroll down next door and citizens are frustrated that they can't get to the major streets. Yeah. And yesterday was the first time, well, it might have been this morning was the first time I heard of a schedule to address neighborhood streets. And that should have been 3 or 4 days ago to me. But all in all, I think the city's investment in tree trimming helped us a lot. But the city has a lot of work to do in recruiting manpower and tools in order to clean streets and organization of that work too, so we will know what's going on. It's bad to be stuck at home and not knowing, okay, well, do y'all have a system of when you're going to get to what areas? What should we do here? Nobody said a word.
That is a very good point. And Catherine, I want to toss it to you now since you are also at home here and dealing with the elements yourself. So what do you think about what this says, to Tawan's point, resources and delegating those resources or lack thereof for a city like Memphis?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult calculation to make. I was just reading in the Daily Memphian that snowplows can cost $200,000 each. And if they're going to get broken out once a year, do you invest that money or do you invest it in something else? And I don't have an answer to that question. I will say, like Tawan said, the tree trimming did make a difference. I live in an area with a lot of trees, and we were very grateful this year not to have a power outage. And I think I can attribute that in some ways to all the tree trimming crews that have been coming through here. But with that said, it is very hard to get out of your neighborhood and onto a residential street. I barely could get my car out yesterday, and most of the time I haven't been able to get off my street. And when Memphis is such a sprawling city, when you have so many people who have to get to work, even if their streets covered in snow, it's a huge problem. It's a huge issue. I don't really know what the solution to that is, but it's something that has to be looked into because people don't always have the luxury of staying in their home and working from home, and it's been hard to get out.
Mm-hmm. And Otis, I'll let you make the last point here. One thing about the nature of this storm, it was very interesting with that sleet, snow, and then ice, and then refreezing. Some of the plow trucks just simply couldn't break through some of that ice. But I would like you to say what you wanted to say, but also touch on the Mississippi.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to touch on. But let me address that first point. Yeah, this was a double and even triple whammy here. When you had, well, it was a triple whammy because you had snow, you had sleet in Memphis. Memphis, and then you had freezing weather for days on end. And that's a recipe for disaster in trying to clear streets. So I understand that. But let me touch Mississippi.
Please.
I'm a Mississippian, and I know they have really been hit hard. Oxford, for example, no power over there. Ole Miss has been closed down. But I think those truckers made some valid points here. There is no excuse for having cities and towns having streets, and you have interstates 55 and 22, and you can't get by, and people are stuck overnight. That was inexcusable. You have to blame a lack of coordination between the governor, even the senators, and the federal government. We're talking about interstate highways. The federal government has some responsibility for that. And I think they dropped the ball a little bit here. But again, you can't compete with Mother Nature. But there should have been some better coordination to make sure those interstates were done right.
And it's crazy to see how Mother Nature can really impact our communities on the ground here when you see a winter storm to this magnitude. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about Memphis Shelby County School Board's latest move in their lawsuit over term limits. Stay with us.